Good morning. It was 1 year ago, August 7th, that I had launched, I like to say launched, the kids' printmaking space. I like the word space, and kids like the idea of space travel and spaceships launching and the rest of it. And what this has to do with the kids' printmaking space is that is my goal. And it's so different from what other people might be doing in the way of printmaking because the term itself refers to old time things. And I have devoted my life to printmaking in the old time sense. But by launching the kids' printmaking space, I put myself in the place of children, 4-year-olds, 5, 14-year-olds. They don't need the old-timey printmaking that I've devoted myself to. And by putting myself in their place, in their shoes, you might say, in their eyes, I saw that 3D printing is probably the most relevant printmaking medium they can learn, and I can teach them. First, I taught myself with the help and support of the first 20 people who supported my printmaking space launch. So, days I spend myself with my head in my 3D printer sometimes, designing some kind of toys that can be connected to printmaking in the old time sense, because there's a history to be learned, there's a benefit. And I'm going to bring that across. I'm going to communicate that. But I needed to make this annual report to reconnect and thank those people who put up $2,000 so that I could buy printers and all the paraphernalia that I needed and the time to put together the concept of the kids' printmaking space. So this is the beginning. Maybe it's all I will do of the annual report, but I wanted to get it done and make this little video. Thank you for watching. For 10 years, I collected snapshots. Many of them were kids in Riga using our mini etching press. But something changed suddenly when kids started coming in asking about 3D printing. And already Martin Schneider has made a 3D printed press in Cologne, Germany. This one and that little tiny black one. But frankly, I can't do that here without money, and that's why I'm doing a GoFundMe. If there are questions you have, you can send me your questions, and I'll be happy to explain. Thanks for watching. Yes, it's here. The 3D printer is here, and now I need to watch a lot of videos on unpacking it because there's a complicated process. And we got another $50 donation today. I'm very grateful for that. We're that much closer to the completion of the Kids Printmaking Space Lab. My friend David stopped by just as I was taking another part out of the 3D printer. It came out to be wrong, and so he helped me fix it, dimensionally, and I hope this one works. And so when he left, I gave him one of these failures as a souvenir, and he said he was going to make a keychain out of it. That was funny. The interesting thing about printmaking in the 21st century is that you learn printing on a 3D printing press, which is, of course, the 3D printer, whereas in the 20th century, we only printed in 2 dimensions. But even more interesting than that is my 5-box printmaking teaching method is that you first print a mold and decal for making paper, and then you make paper. The second step is you make a printing plate, and this one is going to be a QR code, which is another story in itself. When you've printed the plate, you next print your press. The working model I'm doing now, which is more of a sketch than anything, looks like this, and it's identified with Rembrandt because it was a copy of a 17th century press. When you've printed your press, then you process your plate, you get your plate ready, and probably use a 3D printed brayer like this one to get it ready to print if it's a relief print. And fifth is a step which is frequently ignored, which is the social aspect of printmaking. The fifth step is that you make a print pal somewhere in the world by a network dedicated to print pals. Sure different than what I learned in college. It was 90 days ago, April 8th, 2024, when donors gave me enough money to buy a 3D printer, install 3D modeling software, and start the kids' printmaking space. And this is the lab. You may know that years ago I made the wee woody Rembrandt press from wood, and before that I made the half-wood presses, which were miniaturized etching presses. This one is designed after the same press, after the press designs of the 17th century, when Rembrandt was making his famous etching, and he has become sort of the theme of these presses. And so what we make in plastic today is called the We Play Rembrandt press. PLA is the type of biodegradable plastic that the 3D printer uses. I'm so glad that I got the support of those donors to the GoFundMe plan and allowed me to buy the first printer. And tomorrow, on Sunday, June 9th, the second printer arrives, which is much smaller, a tiny footprint, yet it has the same capabilities of this larger one. So the kids' printmaking space lab is continuing. Thank you for supporting the project. Well, here it is. The same company makes a smaller press called the Joy, and I ordered it so that it fits more on the kids' printmaker space that I designed originally. So that's about it for this update, and I thank my donors again and ask those who have not yet given to the project to please do and tell your friends. Thank you.
Time flies when you're having fun. It's been 90 days since I've updated my GoFundMe, and I'm running out of filament. Look here.
Yes, that's how I have been spending much of my time. Changing filaments, printing another part for the last version of my We Play etching press. Tricky business, have to do it just right. I've become pretty skillful. I don't know if I could ever teach it, but I'm learning. It takes about 1 3/4 hours to print this little part I call the base of this tiny press. And I like to print them in different colors. Here's an example. If I could squeeze that in there. This is one I printed earlier, and it's, how many colors is that? I don't know, I lose count. But that's part of the fun of it. You saw me change from a green filament to a red filament. And so the slow process begins. I made so many that I could make a window display. Take you outside and show you. I put the mother of all these presses right there in the middle, and then I built like a wall of over 20 of the We Play presses that I'm printing now. And on the lower right, you see the original We Rembrandt style plastic press. It never got finished. I'm still hoping. The 3D printer has given me so many ideas. For example, these are the parts that go into making a press. This is a box of another one that I am planning to put together pretty soon. You see the parts are all loose in there. And by arranging them around on this board, I get ideas for board games. For example, this is the tiniest one. It only takes like 5 minutes to print. But this one, the wheel, takes closer to 2 hours to print. And this one takes over 4 hours to print. So there's a scoring system that's possible. Oh, and these are totally aside from the printing press. These are from my art series back in the 70s, copies of artworks that I made. This is called the Wave Square. This is called the Curly T Square. And this is the C Square. Anyway, great fun. Thank you for looking. It's the end of the first phase of my kids' printmaking space. And beside what you see on the screen is the We Play Rembrandt press, the end product after all the trials and errors, all the purchases. And this studio is part of my rebranding process. See, I was branded as a printmaker in 1960. That's over 60 years ago. And now it's 2024. And the old brand, frankly, doesn't work. It's still fun. I still like to make an etching now and then. But I'm a kid again, and if someone gave me an etching press today as a kid, I'd find it to be almost totally useless. You know, I would lose attention real fast. Frankly, I wouldn't know what to do with it or why I was doing it, and I would be much more interested in my 3D printer today. So, since I love kids, I decided around 10 years ago in 2014 to redefine. I started the process right after I left the Southern Graphics Council printmaking conference in San Francisco, where I met a lot of people who were looking at our mini half-wood presses at the time. And on the way home, as my wife drove the car, I made notes, and I sort of wrote down a Declaration of Independence. And I wasn't sure where I was going, but I knew that I'd been there and I'd done that, and going to that conference was like the ultimate trip to Mecca. And it wasn't all I thought it would be, frankly. I kept on for the last 10 years. And I arrived at the conclusion that the best thing I can do now as a creative, innovative artist was to create a kids' printmaking space. And so what I'm creating here with this 3D printer, with money contributed by people to the GoFundMe process, is the makings of a kids' printmaking space lab. My idea is to make this studio of ours, the mini art gallery we call it, into a showcase sort of for developing kids' printmaking spaces. Now we're not sure what form these should take, frankly. I started one about a year ago that looks like this. I modeled it after the workshop in Riga. Here's an example of a girl in Latvia working with our mini half-wood press, and kids on a cruise that we made on the Emerald Star in Lake Union. Here's a kid in our space pulling her first etching. Another inspiration was the Open Press project, 3D printed plastic printer from 2018. I have two of them now. This is the smaller version of the 3D printed press. The workshop in Riga, called Graphic Scola, also has music alongside their printing and their monotype systems. They're very beautiful, inspirational. As far as paying for it goes, as far as paying for the kids' printmaking space, that of course will be up to the consumers of this space. The people who buy the space either as a school organization or as families, to buy the equipment to make the parts, such as the 3D printer. Well, I'm done rambling. For the next 4 hours, I'll be doing other projects, and the printer will be continuing making the decal for the kids' printmaking space. The revolutionary thing about my kids' printmaking space is it's actually intended to be global in character. I've traveled around the world, and I have taught college-level printmaking for 20 years, almost 20 years. So what I'm bringing to the table is a global vision. It means that kids using these printmaking spaces will be exposed to global issues. I'm concerned about climate change, for example, and I believe STEM education will go a long way toward helping solve the problem and help kids make a better world for themselves. And my contribution to STEM is the print model as the A, the art, in STEAM, and my ultimate aim is to add reading and writing also. Well, thank you for listening, watching. I'm Bill Ritchie. Good morning. It's a mighty cold day in Seattle, but I thought I'd stop on my morning walk, looking out over the skyline. 7 years ago, I received my first plastic press. It was my birthday gift. It's 2025 now, and a lot has happened because of that. I learned that you can make wonderful prints on a tiny press. So now in 2025, my aspirations to make a similar press based on my original half-wood presses is slowly coming true, but with toys. But I thought I would go back today and review that first videotape I made of testing the 3D printed press from Open Press Project in Germany. And to do that, I'm going to first show the first test video, and then I'm going to follow it up with some more stuff. So thank you for tuning in. Okay, well, I've been working all day making this press and the base for it and kind of doing some fine tuning. I went out and got to the store to buy the pressure screws. I've inked up one of my older plates from my Rembrandt's Ghost series. I dampened my paper about an hour ago. So I'm all set. It's plastic, and you know, it's hard to believe after working with wood and steel all these years that plastic is strong enough, but I trust that Martin knows what he's doing and that the press will work, that it won't break. But I ordered the parts about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, as my birthday present, and now I get my final reward to try printing it. No, that's not a very good start. There's a lot of getting used to. This is a very heavy paper. This is Van Gelder Zonen paper, my favorite paper of all. It's very thick. It's like a blotter. And I've dampened it, maybe a little too damp. I hope it's okay. That's one time through. Makes some noises, kind of scary. You don't know whether that's the sound of plastic breaking or just the character of the press. It's probably just the character of the press. Okay. My first proof on my new plastic press. I must put the moment number on. The moment number is the moment you pull the proof. Get it with the year 18, the month 12, the day the 30th, and the time is 1540. Wouldn't you know, there'd be a 54 in the number. Okay, here goes. Oh, that's very nice. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Bill Ritchie. I taught for 20 years at the University of Washington, but nothing remains of my career there. But I remember every day I brought a trunk remodeled so that it carried everything I needed for my day of teaching, the things that the university couldn't provide. That idea came back again in 2015 or 16 when I wanted to make a teacher in a box, a printmaking teacher in a box, a kind of a kit with the basics one would need if one were teaching printmaking to kids. The idea seemed to go with the times. After COVID, when homeschools and subscription kits came on the market for just about everything, including art. But even today, there is no subscription kit for printmaking. So I set to work and I wrote a curriculum. It was quite simple in 5 parts. 1, you make paper. 2, you make a press. 3, you make a plate. 4, you print the plate. 5, and you send the print to what I called a print pal. Someone, somewhere, another kid perhaps, in exchange, along the lines of the popular print exchange programs that you see. And from that, I decided the printing press had to be small, fit in the box, and ideally should be assembled by the user. And then along came the 3D printer in an affordable size, capable of printing the small
press. It was proven to me by Martin Schneider in Germany. His press actually worked, but I could only make a working toy, a fidget actually. So that brings us up to the date, and I'm busy making fidgets with my 3D printer, supported in part by a group of people in a GoFundMe project. It's going well, and I just sold my first 2 fidgets on Etsy. That brings us up to date. That's my brief history of plastic printmaking.